Welcome to episode 150 of Timm Talk, the podcast about the DC animated universe co-created by Bruce Timm. I am Chris Lord.
I'm Cameron Dexter.
And actually, Cameron, right off the bat, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So this is our 150th official episode.
Yes, congratulations to you and to me.
Yes, and to you.
Thank you.
And to me. And to us.
And to us.
But obviously, we only consider proper canonical episodes to be episodes about the DCAU. We've done tons of other random bonus episodes, from movies to best single artist film soundtracks.
Yes.
Probably my favorite of the most obscure specials we've done. But I had a question for you. What do you think is our actual episode count?
Oh, 197.
You know what? You're pretty damn close. This marks 193.
Oh, dang.
Total number of episodes we've done. But that is really close. You're paying more attention than I gave you credit for. And I think amongst that, we've only had, I want to say, 2 lost episodes, right? Like one we had to re-record, and then we our first attempt to do remote recording we didn't publish. But other than
that's right. Yeah,
that's a pretty good streak.
Yeah, and on top of that, we've also only missed like 2 weeks. Maybe
I think
3 or 4 weeks.
It's more now at this point. Yeah, I think it's maybe closer to like 4 or 5. But hey, you know what? Who's counting other than us right now?
Yes,
in this very exact segment.
But for 3 years worth of doing this, we're doing pretty good.
Closing in on 4 actually at this point now.
4 in August.
But by the time we are like in person once again, we'll probably be at 4 years.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
But so we're gonna do rather fortuitous timing that for our 150th episode we're covering the big league, so the Static Shock Justice League. Oh no, sorry, the League of Their Own.
Yes, we did.
I get my leagues
for anyone who is being a stickler on the episode guide. Probably just Watchtower. We are shifting around one episode, because there's one pesky episode right between where we ended and these 2 episodes. We're just going to kind of push to next week.
But these were, per your suggestion, great episodes to do for 150 because it's a big episode.
Yeah.
Static meets most of the Justice League, and these were some pretty solid episodes. So we're going to do that. We're going to do kind of a little recap of our best and worst episodes, not of us as a podcast, because I don't even remember those episodes.
They're all the worst.
They're all the worst. But of the shows we've covered so far. But first, we want to talk a little bit about news. Unfortunately, there is a news topic that is inescapable for us this week because it has set DC comic fandom alight. But before we get to that, you had a couple of little things you wanted to talk about. So
I did. I'll start on the most positive one for me, pending theater reopenings in the near future. We got a tweet from Edgar Wright this week saying that one of my favorite films, Scott Pilgrim, is coming back into theaters for its 10th anniversary, which I'm ecstatic for. Scott Pilgrim was the first movie I saw like a special preview for. So we were like the Dallas premiere of it. And it was wonderful. It was the first movie I dressed up for. I dressed up as Brandon Roth's Todd Ingram.
Great choice.
Yep. There was like a whole costume contest, and we all lost, my friend group and I, because we put in none of the effort. But yeah, that's super exciting for me. This week, depending on when you're watching or listening to this, HBO Max comes out in the next couple days.
Yes, this is true.
Are you excited for anything coming out on this infinitely expanding platform of streaming networks?
I don't even know what's on there. I'm like looking through a list right now. I mean, you had mentioned to me before the show that all of the Studio Ghibli films will be on there.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen most of those, so I think for that alone, that might be a good way for me to catch up on a lot of them. But like,
I think one of the big ones is they announced Fresh Prince is going to be on there. A lot of people are excited for that one. Doctor Who, I don't know how much of Who, but Doctor Who is going to be on there.
Okay, I've been meaning to finish catching up on Who at some point, so maybe I'll come back around to that.
Your favorite movie is going to be on there, Casablanca.
I mean, I already have Casablanca.
Yeah, but now you can watch it easier and pay a little bit more for it.
Like for me, at the end of the day, like whatever Warner Brothers can offer that I'm actually going to want to like watch a lot of is going to be the stuff that's already up on DC Universe. So I think until the DC Universe stuff completely merges with HBO Max, I probably won't even end up getting HBO Max.
That's fair. Yeah, because I mean, even the new content, some of it I'm excited for. Like the new Looney Tunes seems pretty fun. Anna Kendrick is getting her own show or movie.
Oh my God, she has something on everything. She had that Quibi show too.
Yeah, did we talk about Quibi?
No, I don't want to talk about Quibi.
Okay.
We don't need to talk about Quibi.
We don't need to talk about I'm just happy that Katzenberg is failing again. But yeah, so that comes out this week. I'm sure I'll watch something on there just to kind of see what it's all about. But the biggest news connected to HBO Max that we got this week, to both of our depressed states.
Yeah, I have very mixed feelings on this.
Is it was announced by multiple sources that 2021 HBO Max will be getting the Snyder Cut.
Yes, the Snyder Cut of Justice League. It finally got released.
Are you? So I'm coming at this from a handful of directions. Are you more upset that the trolls won? The internet, like the Twitter assholes won and they got what they wanted? Or are you more upset that I guess that's really it. I'm just upset that they won.
I am curious to see this movie. I mean, I remember coming out of Justice League saying that it made Batman vs Superman look good by comparison, because at least that was semi-cohesive. And everything I've heard about the director's cut of Batman vs Superman is that it is significantly better. And I think when we ultimately watch it, which we will, of course.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be pretty, as all Zack Snyder movies are. I think it is going to be more coherent than the Justice League we got, although that is not difficult to do because that movie is just complete mess. I don't think it's going to be like this masterpiece that everyone is making it out to be. And I think that its existence creates more problems potentially than it solves.
I agree.
And you and I have always not been super hot on this to begin with anyways. And I think maybe part of it is too that the release of Snyder Cut fan base is also heavily tied with the really caustic, toxic masculine part of the DC fan base. I'm not saying that they are exclusive to one another, but I think there's some pretty significant overlap between the two. And so the fact that group, even if it's a section of that group, is now feel vindicated is bad. I also don't think anyone's going to learn any lessons that's going to make studio and creative behavior going forward any different. I don't think Warner Brothers Studio is going to look at this and go oh, well, hey, maybe we should just let our creatives have a little more free reign and we should interfere less. I don't think they're going to learn that lesson, because that's not the lesson they're learning here. The lesson they learned here is oh, we had a version of the movie that didn't make money. We found a new way to make money off of it. Let's go ahead and do it.
That's my fear, is the studios are now going to see this as an opportunity to milk movies more. We're going to have multiple. We're going to get a Blade Runner situation. We're going to have the studio version, the director version, the theatrical version, the extended version, the deleted scenes version, the made for TV version.
And that, to me, that I have no interest in that. I mean, it's sort of similar to what's now happened with the Star Wars trilogy, the original trilogy, where it's just oh, which version is it? Is it the original version? Is it the slightly enhanced version from the early 90s?
Yeah,
is it the special
the 2000 CGI version?
Yeah. Is it the Blu-ray versions? Is it now even the new fucking McClunky versions that are on Disney Plus? You get into that sort of territory of oh, if there's demand for these different cuts, then we can kind of get away with having multiple releases. That is, I think, a potentially dangerous thing, just in terms of that not being good for audiences.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I feel this could turn into some kind of new and improved Disney Vault situation.
How so?
Where you have just kind of because Disney Vault is all about these repeated releases. Mm-hmm. Where you have kind of the fan base coming back over and over and over again. And it's obviously worked. It's worked since the 80s. It's still working. Like Disney is still putting out their same movies in updated platforms.
Yeah.
Like we just got I think they just started the 4K versions of their vaulted movies.
Jesus.
And so like I can definitely see Warner Brothers kind of treating it the same way as like, oh, we have a new version of the movie because we added in a scene. Or even going back to like, because I feel like it's not going to stop it. If it's bad, it might stop at Snyder. But if it's good, then we might get like, where's the David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad?
We're already getting that. There's already all this talk about now release the Ayer cut. For fuck's sake, there is now a very, very small movement for release the Trank cut of Fant 4 Stick.
Oh God, no.
And I think
that movie is unsavable.
I've still never seen it. And I think that is exactly the problem, is that it vindicated a movement that should never have gotten traction to begin with. And it doesn't help that Snyder and his primary cast fueled it themselves. And there's a total argument to be made here that like they were justified in being frustrated. Like the fact that Zack Snyder was basically booted off the project, that they kind of used his own personal tragedy as a semi-excuse to make that move is also really, really sad and terrible. And, and look, I don't think he's an amazing filmmaker. I think he's a great visual filmmaker. I think he had the wrong ideas through all this sort of stuff. But that being said, like, that's really hard as a creative to see something that you do care about heavily get taken away from you and be just completely bastardized. But this is also a weird situation too, because like this was problematic from the beginning. Like Snyder probably shouldn't have been picked because he doesn't know how to do Superman. And so that movie was a bad place to start. That was a bad movie to then spin off a cinematic universe. He was the wrong director to hand that to when he had multiple kind of failed projects, even though like Warner Brothers stuck with it. Ultimately, it was a case of a studio being risk averse and making bad calls, and that has now extended all the way down to them eventually releasing this thing. But like, look, I'm curious to see it. I'd also be curious to see like what the David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad would be. But also like, I just don't care. Like at the end of the day, like those movies are messy. They're not going to further contribute to a larger expanded universe. So I'd rather just move past them rather than keep revisiting them.
And also with that stuff, it's because I've been seeing reports that kind of contradict each other. Of some say there's going to be some reshoots, others are saying there's going to be no reshoots.
Yeah,
I think the question from that point is, at what level of quality are they willing to put out to appease fans? Like, are we going to get, like I mentioned before with Clerks, there was the kind of the 2000s version of Clerks that came out, where Kevin Smith basically animated 2 scenes that he didn't get to film because there wasn't the budget for it.
Right.
So there was an animated attachment to the original film. Is it just going to be storyboards with kind of, are they going to get people to come in and just do kind of voiceover? Is it just going to be Zack Snyder talking to the camera and being like, here's what I was thinking. Over here, we're going to have Cyborg fly in from the left, shooting at this faceless horde at the bottom right of the screen, and it's going to be like this color overlay, and it's going to be there's going to be explosion here, and here. But even going as far as like, if we extend this to Star Wars, like the video that Mr. Sunday did, where he remade, he got a team of animators to make the original script of Episode 9. Are we going to get that level of quality, or even just going back to just like a storyboarded film where it's either voiceover or just kind of sound effects, and it turns into a digital comic at that point?
And so the funny thing is, we actually have like decade plus old precedents for this, and something we've talked about a little bit, which is the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2. Mm-hmm. So like the
movie I've seen.
The movie you've seen, of course, one of your favorites of all time. The very, very short history on this is basically that Richard Donner was hired to direct Superman 1 and 2. The movie went way over schedule and way over budget. The producers on it fired him, and took the ending of Superman 2, tacked it on the beginning of Superman 1 when he like flies around the world to like reverse time, and then hired Richard Lester to finish Superman 2. But due to DGA regulations, Richard Lester basically had to reshoot a lot of Superman 2 like shot for shot because they couldn't use Donner's footage if they wanted to only have one credited director. What this means is that there's a very different version of Superman 2 that exists, and eventually in the mid 2000s, I want to say like around the same time that Superman Returns came out, they actually put out on DVD the Richard Donner cut. And one of the things, like they even have like a title card at the beginning that says, you know, this is comprised of some like unfinished footage, including test footage, because there's a really great scene where Lois discovers who Superman is, and it's a lot different in the Donner cut than in the final cut, the theatrical cut. And so they actually use the original chemistry test with Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeve in its place. And they kind of flag like, hey, like this scene is going to be unfinished. And so it doesn't necessarily feel like a completely polished, finished film. It's much more of like an interesting study of what could this have been. And I think it really works if you're a fan of that movie, if you're a fan of cinema in general and the filmmaking process. You can kind of appreciate it from those two sides of like this thing in mid finish has its own kind of interesting element. I'm very curious to see what they do with this, because I think that version that might have like some storyboards or some animatics, or that might use, for example, something like a chemistry test or early test footage in place of finished footage. If you're the kind of person who can appreciate that that's in there nonetheless, will like it. But they are the way they're pushing this, it makes it feel like they're trying to make this a flagship title for HBO Max, which means they're trying to go for mass audience appeal. And I don't think a lot of people are going to understand why it might feel a little bit unfinished.
Right. I feel like the people begging for this movie aren't going to accept an 80% film.
And I think no matter what we end up getting, whether it's the 80% film or if it's a fully finished version, like it's the fans who wanted this have already decided it's great.
Yes.
And so I don't really know. I mean, I guess for those of us who are just curious, we kind of win, because it'll be an interesting thing to see. And I don't know. I don't like that a precedent has been broken now. And I feel like now we're going to just see more and more of like the something cut. Now, if this means we eventually get the release the butthole cut.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, release the butthole cut.
You know what? I'll take back everything negative I just said. If this means we get the butthole cut of Cats, then I'll finally be happy.
Let's get the scary version of Sonic in there, because just why not?
Yes, I don't know. Like at the end of the day, like this is such a trivial thing in the broader scheme of what's happening in the world. But I don't know. I don't necessarily love that this is a reality in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, because I mean, I'm sure you've seen 80% films where like, because like even seeing like animated films 80%, it feels like it's something you have to adjust to.
And that's exactly it. Yeah, and I don't. I feel like no
we
matter what
as
they
the
put
Hollywood
out,
elites, we've trained our eyes in preparation for these kind of situations, but the commoners below us, they're not used to this artistic hodgepodge.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like
we as the bourgeoisie.
Yeah, the cinema oligarchy here that we represent. Like, I think if this were to shut people up, I would be less bothered by it. But the thing is like it'll never shut anyone up, and the fact that they quote unquote won means that they'll never shut up ever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Look, it'll be interesting. We'll obviously be covering it next July when it comes out.
I think the only positive that has come out of this is I saw a news article that said Zack Snyder has just started working on the trailer for his new Justice League cut. And honestly, I'm pumped. Because if we've learned anything from this podcast, Zack Snyder is one of the best trailer editors there is.
He gives good trailer.
Yeah.
He gives really good trailer. The final product? Maybe a little bit less so.
Hey, you know what? When you only have to perform for 2 to 3 minutes, everything feels great. It's once you get into that like hour mark, you're like, this isn't as good as I thought it was gonna be.
This is not as much fun as I was expecting. I'm just tired.
Yeah.
There's chafing.
I just want to go home.
Yeah, I mean, look, if anything, all this is going to do is means it's going to force us to finally start doing some of the live action movies, which we've been talking about, because I feel like the only way to really go in and watch the Snyder Cut of Justice League is to treat it like a proper trilogy and do a revisit of Man of Steel to watch watch the BVS Ultimate Cut and then to watch this. So get ready, Cameron. This might be even more taxing on our patience than the Zeta years, but we'll we'll do it.
Oh God, yeah. All right.
We'll do it for the art.
You're being very loose with that term.
Yeah, very loose. All right. Shall we move on? Because I feel like I don't want to keep talking about the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, let's get into our episodes.
All right. So here we are with A League of Their Own, Part 1, the crossover between Static Shock and Justice League. So I meant to look up when this episode came out, because I'm trying to figure out when it would have aired in the run of Justice League.
Right.
Because the thing is that these two shows were out concurrently. We're kind of clumping them series by series. But guess what? I'm going to look it up here. I would guess probably season 1. So this came out in, all right, March 2nd and March 9th, 2003.
That would be between seasons 1 and 2.
Between seasons 1 and 2.
Yeah,
okay.
Savage Time was November 2002. Then season 2 started July 2003.
Oh my God, man! Savage Time, great episodes.
Yeah,
great episodes. No, I mean this was a lot of fun. Like one thing that I thought was interesting right from the beginning is it starts out with a cold open, something I don't think we pretty much never get with Static Shock, right?
Yeah, it's very Justice League.
Yeah, so we have the cold open, which I also love because it's very Star Trek, because it's basically the entire Justice League except for Superman and Wonder Woman up on the Watchtower, and they get hit with some weird like purple ribbon space
They call
anomaly.
it a solar string.
A solar string, which as far as I know is not a real thing.
Yes, it is. It is more powerful than a solar flare, according to Hawkgirl.
Yes, and the fact that it's basically passing through Earth's orbit but is going to affect nothing but the Watchtower is delightful. I love that they raise shields on the Watchtower, and it's like a bright glowing red, and it even has like very Star Trek level sound effects on it.
Yeah.
Like everything about this reminded me of like Star Trek Generations with like the Nexus, this weird random like cosmic space ribbon that just fills in any plot holes you need it to. But as a result of this cosmic string hitting the Watchtower, the core basically like overloads and then gets depleted, so they have to bring in Static to come in and recharge it. But they have yet to realize that as a result of the power drop, that the containment field around the last remaining piece of Brainiac has fallen, and so he has escaped into the Watchtower computer and is trying to get out. It's a good setup for an episode.
That is a
overall.
great Justice League premise. But question for you is, why is it okay for Static to recharge but not Flash to recharge? Because Flash offers, he says, I'll just run around it and use my friction, my own static electricity, to use that to charge the station. He's like, no, we need a guy who also uses static electricity to do it instead.
Okay, I mean, if we're gonna have to try and ride around this plot hole they've set up for us, this weird,
because I've got a couple. How does space batarangs work, Chris?
That's also a great question, but I will start with this first question. Look, if I would say that the answer, if I'm going to make one up off the top of my head, which I am doing right now, is that the difference is that Static's powers are very focused and contained. Like he already has the electricity within himself and he can just directly put it out. We'll ignore like the physics behind like having like, as he put it, like thousands of calories that he somehow burned putting out electricity. Let's just say like Static is always carrying around like a significant charge and he can just, conduct it through his hands and recharge something, versus I can see the danger of having the Flash do it is that he has to run around that space to generate that kind of energy, which one is going to produce a lot of friction and a lot of heat, which is potentially dangerous. I imagine that when he then like releases that energy, it is probably not as controlled and focused as when Static does it. And also on top of it, I think Batman trusts Static more than the Flash.
Those are all very fair points. All right, I will accept those answers.
Because I think that Batman knows he can just tell Static what to do, and whereas the Flash will just like probably make a mess of everything.
Yeah, just do whatever he wants.
Do whatever he wants. But no, it's pretty fun. It's like that's like the cold open, and then we go back into the oh my god, that I never get tired of that Little Romeo intro.
It's so good.
Like in the same way that when you watch Batman the Animated Series and it has a little thing down the corner, like, do you want to skip the intro? And you're just offended.
Never.
Like, offended that it was suggested. I get the same way with Static Shock. I'm like, how dare you? My favorite part of this episode is listening to the rap. Sit down, DC
We even
Universe.
got a little Romeo reference in this episode.
We did. I love that. I absolutely love that they called them out. But yeah, so then Static and Gear are fighting some of the meta breed who've now teamed up together, and the Justice League jumps in real quick to dispatch them.
Oh, but let's talk about their name. It's the Meta Men.
The Meta Men. How
All
sexist.
run by what's her name? Poof? Mist?
I prefer Poof.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's Carmandillo, Hot Streak, and who's the big guy? Bang?
Wait, is it Carmandillo or Armadillon?
Carmandillo is the real one. Armadillon is R1.
I legitimately can't remember anymore. Because they both are so terrible.
We have Armadillon, Poof, Hot Streak, and Bang.
No, it's not Hot Streak. It's just Mark McGrath.
Mark McGrath, yeah. The Meta Men, and then the Justice League come in and take him out. Kind of.
Wait, it is Poof, or it's Puff.
Puff, that's what it is. It wasn't Mist. Yeah, I was almost there. Yeah, they take out the Meta Men and then bring Static and Gear onto the Watchtower. Does the Watchtower not have Zeta tech in this Justice League? Is that not until Young Justice?
What? Oh, Zeta Tube.
Yes.
Oh, I was like, Zeta the robot?
No.
The much maligned robot? I don't think they have teleporters yet. I don't think those exist until Justice League Unlimited.
Okay.
I know they exist there because in the first episode they beam Green Arrow onto the ship.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, and I don't think they ever refer to it as Zeta Tubes. I think they just have teleporters basically. But I think as of right now, they still get to and from the planet with the javelins.
Yes, because I had a question about that in the next episode.
Okay. But no, they get up there and obviously they're geeking out hardcore. Static recharges the core, and then the Justice League gets an emergency call, so they have to go off planet. And they leave Static and Gear up on the watchtower just to make sure everything is running smoothly. So of course they raid the fridge.
Have their own little pizza party, as you do when you're a stereotypical high schooler.
Exactly. I mean, would you rather them like go darker and they find Green Lantern's like stash of bourbon somewhere?
Yes, because it's still Phil Lamar.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. That was my favorite thing about these episodes was when we get to the second episode was Phil Omar having a fight with himself, basically.
Yeah, and how little dialogue they gave Green Lantern just because Phil Omar was already doing so much as Virgil.
He's already doing so much. I love any of those times when you realize that a character, like a voice actor, is basically talking with himself, which is almost all of Family Guy, all of Rick and Morty, and a good amount of Futurama.
Most of Looney Tunes.
But yeah, pretty much all of Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they're up on the watchtower, then they get attacked by Brainiac, who's now built himself a few robots. So, okay, I now have a question for you, Cameron.
Okay.
The cleaning robot.
Yes.
So while Static and Gear are having themselves a pizza party, the airlock door opens, just the random airlock door into space.
In the middle of the kitchen.
In the middle of the kitchen opens, and they're just able to escape by throwing a fridge at it, basically.
Do you think that was Flash's contribution of like, it's not waste if we just throw it into space?
That's true, actually.
Like that was his idea for cycling, which is like he would wait till everyone was gone and then just like press the button, throw everything out, and then press it again.
So, do you think that airlock could also exist because that's how they do like deliveries? Do you think they have like
smart. Yeah,
some sort of like space delivery truck that like backs itself up to the side of the watchtower.
Space DoorDash.
But like my favorite thing about anything involving the watchtower is at the end of the day, it was designed and funded by Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
Like every single thing that exists on there came from him, which is why I bring up the cleaning robot. So there's a cleaning robot who looks like Zeta-esque. He's just kind of generic robot thing, but he's got, you know, like a duster built into his hand and stuff like that. And he's going around, he's cleaning up the watchtower. And then after Brainiac takes over, he commands the cleaning robot to attack. And so the cleaning robot retracts his dusting glove and puts out a spinning saw blade. Now, was that a built-in feature, or did Brainiac create that robot and send it out there to try and kill them in a sneaky manner?
So it can go
Bruce
either
Wayne
way.
Did Bruce Wayne build that robot with a saw built into it?
It can go either way. I do like the idea of it being Brainiac, and he has all this knowledge of how to take out other life forms. And so the duster was his, like, it's like, oh, maybe this is like a gas. Maybe it's like a gaseous being.
Maybe they have really bad allergies.
Yeah, where he, like, his first attempt was, you know, like, I knew this, you know, this race on another planet, another galaxy was harmed by just like rapid movement around them. And so I'm going to get a duster because that's the only thing on board and dust them to death. He's like, oh, this plan isn't going to work. These are solid beings. We'll go with plan B, a giant saw blade.
A giant saw blade. So I love that's his first attempt to kill them. And when that fails, he sends like a giant robot after him. It's a pretty cool looking robot.
They say a Shaq-sized robot.
I love they call it a Shaq-sized robot. And eventually they defeat that too. But then Gear uses his backpack and his dial-up communicator. I love that. There's a lot of dial-up sounds in these episodes.
Oh yeah.
To bring back the Justice League, and then they realize they now have to drain the core. But they have to get back inside the watchtower first. And then this is where it felt particularly silly to me. Like, this is when it felt much more like a Static Shock episode than a Justice League episode, which is they all get inside spacesuits to go attack the outside of the thing. Batman, his spacesuit has room for his ears to come outside of the helmet.
Yes.
How does that work?
Because he designed it that way. This is his design.
Like, don't you think that maybe he would just build a suit that then had room inside the helmet for the ears?
Nope.
Or that maybe he would just like take off his mask?
He would never take off his mask
and put it on. What I was disappointed though is that it didn't also have room for his cape to come out as well.
Oh, there you know there's a button. Because it's a cape, but it's gonna work as like a wingsuit.
Yes.
And so it's when he's like crashing down into Earth, he has a button that he presses that extends the cape out from the back and can use it to kind of like guide himself down softly to Earth.
It's just kind of silly. It's just like, the watchtower's like firing cannons at them. Hawkgirl's like knocking him back with her mace. To your point, doesn't Batman throw batarangs in space?
Yeah, Batman has space batarangs that are also like extra explosive.
Yeah. Their complete disregard for physics.
But also, hold on. I just realized this. There's still a giant open hole where the airlock is. They never closed the door.
Maybe Brainiac closed it afterwards?
Maybe. I'm like, there's already an opening.
One thing I did like is that when Martian Manhunter goes to phase into the watchtower, he clearly like phases out of his spacesuit and into the building.
Yes, I don't understand that.
It's a little detail, but I mean, I guess like it's probably one of those things where if he can probably be intangible in an environment like space for a brief period of time.
But can't he breathe in space? He doesn't need a spacesuit, does he?
I don't remember with him.
I think it's always him and GL that never wear spacesuits.
I mean, I think some versions Superman just wears like an oxygen mask.
Yeah.
And other versions like he doesn't need to breathe at all. They're a little bit inconsistent on how they handle him. So my read on that is that Martian Manhunter can be intangible for like a brief period of time in something like space, and so like he has to like phase out of his suit through space for like a quick second, and then into the watchtower.
Okay.
It's a little detail, but I liked that though. Um, but I think my favorite part of this episode though is that ultimately they defeat Brainiac with Napster.
I wrote they beat a virus with a virus. They downloaded LimeWire.
Yeah, Gear just downloads some song like 1,000,000,000,000 times, which I think is more or less the exact phrase he uses, until the memory on the watchtower gets overloaded and it pushes Brainiac out.
Yes. Which is like such a great high school answer.
It is.
Like, I really appreciate that.
You know what? Like it's a silly thing, but I actually like that that's how they did it, because like it is grounded in a loose sense of how technology actually works, and that you're right, that is exactly what a high schooler would do to like solve that problem.
Yeah.
Plus it gives us a great line where Brainiac says, "I will be back and I will blah 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 lay the funk down," and then he dies. It's like, I don't know, it's all kind of silly, but it's fun though.
It is. This is a very fun episode.
And I like too that
I think because they gave Flash the most dialogue of the Justice League members, that's always a good sign for a fun episode.
Yeah, and as they should, because like it is meant to be like a little more light, a little more fun. You know, like Hawkgirl, GL, and Martian Manhunter are definitely more like the kind of like stoic, serious ones. And even like Batman, they let him be like a little bit playful. Because I feel like even by the time they got to Justice League, he had kind of softened up a little bit, or he has more moments of levity, maybe there than he did elsewhere. Plus, you know, he has a soft spot for Static.
Right.
Like he likes this kid, he respects him, he trusts him.
As you said, probably more than Flash.
Obviously more than the Flash, for good reason.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's a fun dynamic, and I like that this is really a two-parter of two distinct parts. Like the story for this episode really does wrap up. Like they seemingly defeat Brainiac at the end, and it's only the very, very end of the episode they realize that he escaped through Backpack and he attacks Richie. And then, you know, part two takes a really different storyline. I liked that. I liked that it had a sense of finality to it, but also like an ongoing story. And especially that this was broken up over like with a week in between when it originally aired. And I'm pretty sure I watched this when it originally aired. Like, it's like, oh, cool. Like you feel like it's heading towards like a nice conclusion, and like at the very last minute, like, what? No, there's a cliffhanger, you bastards. Plus, then there's more Justice League.
Exactly. I'm trying to think. I don't think I have any more notes on this episode.
I also like that they took the picture too. That they were like, okay, fine,
I loved they took the picture. That made me very happy.
We can take one picture.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Richie just can't believe this is actually happening. Like, I think that's one of the best things about this is like Richie feels like he's authentically really nerding out here.
Yeah. I would have loved like if each of the Justice League members would have messed it up in their own way.
Oh, instead of just the Flash doing the ears.
Oh yeah, if like I think it would have put them in a more negative light, but Flash like intentionally makes himself blurry. GL kind of like puts a shine over him, so he's super not out of focus, like super whited out, like messes up the white balance. Batman just disappears.
Right, he just drops a smoke bomb.
Yeah. Manhunter just phases out of the picture.
Yeah. Oh man.
So in the end, it just looks like it's just Richie and Static, just like, hey.
It's just the two of them. And,
Yeah.
like it looks like they just took it at like a carnival.
Yeah.
Like on in front of a green screen to fake it. But it's like one of those fun things that exists in these sort of worlds where like it's a photo that they'll never be able to show anyone ever. But they just like want to have it for their own, just like keepsake.
Right.
Because they can put it up in their gas station hideout.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's a lot of fun though. I really quite enjoyed this. But yeah, do you want to move on to A League of Their Own Part 2?
I do, because I have a big question
Part
for
2?
you in this one.
All right, bring it on.
Two big questions.
Okay.
So it starts off with Richie being taken over by Brainiac. And then the Justice League realizes that Brainiac is still alive. And so Flash offers himself to go and find Richie. And he's like, oh, wait, but I don't know what this kid looks like.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't he a, like, forensic scientist?
Yes.
He works with detectives.
I mean, he's a forensic scientist, but I guess like he doesn't do the actual like manhunting element, does he? He just does all like the science work in the background.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I would just expect him, because I think this joke is done better in the Justice League episode where him and Lex Luthor switch places.
Oh, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like, I have no idea who this is.
It's such a great moment.
And we've also made the joke, and I would have loved for Batman to make the same joke, where like Richie doesn't really have a mask. He just has like the green tint over his face.
Yeah.
And I would have loved for Batman just like flick him a piece of green glass and just like hold this up to some kids and you'll find him. He's like, he's not hiding anything.
Yeah, he's basically hiding in plain sight. Well, like, I do think it's interesting that that's how Batman tells him to go track down Richie, because Batman obviously knows who Richie is. He knows Virgil's secret identity. He's going to know who Richie is. Also, you know for a fact that Batman makes a habit of tracking down every single person's secret identity.
Yes. And also making life as hard as possible for Flash.
That's probably why he did this. He could have just given him a name. It's like, his name is Richie Foley. He goes to Dakota High School. Here's where he hangs out. He's like, no, I'm going to make you work for this.
Yeah.
I feel like Batman just sends Flash on annoying errands just to get him out of the watchtower.
Oh, constantly. So I've brought this show up a few times. Taskmaster, the British game show.
Yeah.
They have a very fun segment where every task is done by every member of the all the competitors. But every now and then they'll have a very monotonous task that they'll show that they only gave one person. And they think that like everyone has to do this. So they're like actually trying to do it well and win.
Yeah.
And in reality, it's like, who can count to like 300 the fastest? And then it's like one person sitting there just like trying to count as fast as possible, taking it super seriously. And everyone else is like, why are you doing this? You're being dumb.
God, what a bunch of dicks.
Yeah, it's so good.
That is absolute sort of shit Batman would do to people too. Mm-hmm. He's so smug.
Oh, one of the recent ones was they dropped a beach ball in the middle of a lake, and it was, you could get it however you wanted. You just had to get the beach ball back the fastest.
Okay.
And they only gave it to one person, and she like sprinted through the water, like didn't care about her clothes. There was a boat next to her, and she's like, "No, I'm faster if I just swim myself." I was like, "Congratulations, you did it. You don't get anything for it."
Oh my god, that's fantastic.
It's a great show.
Yeah, they should absolutely have Flash on that show. It'd be highly entertaining. But yeah, so at this point, Brainiac's like taking over Richie, and no one's quite figured it out yet, but he's acting like super weird and robotic. And yeah, so the Flash tries to like find Richie. He eventually does, and he gets taken out by Backpack. And I love it too, because it's this great moment where like Richie kind of like steps out of the shadows, and he's put up his hood so that you can't see the Brainiac emblem that's like on his back of his neck, like the control chip. But when he steps out, like his eyes are starting to glow green, and he's got like a little bit of like the Brainiac tech like creeping across his face, and then his hood sort of like makes the shape of Brainiac's faceplate.
Yeah, I loved that. That was a really, really cool thing that the animators did.
Yeah, it's a great like visual nod to that character, and like it also makes sense in context, like why he would look that way. It's a really cool, like ominous.
Do you think Brainiac took the time to like cut out the hood so when he put it over, it always looked like him?
Yeah, he absolutely did. Because like the thing is, Brainiac in his own way is actually like very, I'm not gonna say like vain, but there is like an element of like narcissism. Like his whole programming is that he is like the greatest mind in the universe,
right?
And like because he's collected all this knowledge, and like he believes unquestionably that his way is the best way possible. So like he has this own weird version of like AI vanity, and he would absolutely do something like that.
There's a you still haven't watched Avatar, have you?
I have not, no.
Okay, it's on Netflix. It's great. There's a character you meet in season 2 named Wang Shitong.
Mm-hmm. Great name.
Yes, who is a giant owl spirit.
Awesome.
Who owns basically the library of the world. It's Wang Shitong's library, and the only way to enter is to give him knowledge that he does not possess yet.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so they like some people do it very genuinely of like, oh, here's like a waterbending technique that is very rare and only to my village. But one of my favorites is in when we see him in Korra, the second series. One of the girls is like, oh, do you know how a radio works? He's like, oh yes, I understand the radio. You have shrunken down many performers and put them inside a tiny box. And they're like, no, that's not quite it. He's like, oh, have my informers given me the wrong information? And he has tiny fox spirits that run around, and you just see one behind him who like lowers his head and walks around a corner.
That's actually an interesting idea. Yeah, like he wouldn't necessarily like critique the knowledge. He would just sort of like take it at face value, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, like this is something I don't know. Cool.
Yeah.
In you can go.
Okay, so here's my question for you.
Yes.
Since you are the transportation expert.
Yes.
The javelin. So after Flash gets taken, the rest of the Justice League comes down to talk to Virgil. The javelin is very large and is great for long distance travel.
Yes.
What do they do when they only have to go like 8 to 10 miles?
They still use the javelin.
But there's no way that there's that many parking spots, especially in a dense city like Dakota. There's no way there's that many parking, like open areas for the javelin to stand.
Here's the thing you haven't factored in. Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
Bruce Wayne is this sort of like insane, compulsive person that would design a ship, and then when he realized that it wasn't ideal to land in certain areas, he would like buy up all the municipalities and rebuild the city until that every major city in the world had a really good parking spot for his javelin.
Okay, so now my question is, what is the distance? Do you think they ever fight, especially Batman, because he has no way of like getting around at a quick speed?
Yeah.
Do you think they fight over like, we could take the javelin, but it's only like 4 miles away? Like Batman, can you just like hold on to Superman? He's like, no, we have to take the javelin. It's like, but I mean, just like for the environment, like it's so much easier for us to just like fly and walk. We don't need the javelin.
We all can fly there. Flash can run there. We could be there so much faster. Time is of the essence. Can you just...
because you have like the boot up time. You know they're not going to take off until Flash finds the right song to play. And then him and GL are going to fight over what song to play.
Because you're right. Like sometimes, if I recall in like Justice League, maybe like GL will put like Batman or maybe like the Flash, something like that, into like the bubble, and like they'll float off together. What is the most embarrassing way for Batman to hitch a ride amongst the other Justice League members?
Oh, there's that great illustration of Batman sitting crisscross on Superman's back.
Yeah.
I was like, don't tell anyone about this.
I would say that is like number 2. I think the most embarrassing would be getting a piggyback ride from the Flash.
I was about to say piggyback ride. Yes.
Just because it's so emasculating, and Batman in particular would hate it that you'd have to like rely on the Flash to get him there.
Yes. Because with the javelin, I don't think we always see it going long distances, but in this, they're going from one side of Dakota to just a couple of miles away, I assume. Yeah. They're already in kind of the industrial district, and they're just going to a power plant, which I assume is also in the industrial district.
That's true. I mean, I think pretty much all of Dakota is like an industrial district. I think it's
That's
like
true.
Nonstop industrial district, like a small suburb, one school, and the community center.
Yeah.
And one record studio that's constantly getting rebuilt.
and what's their McDonald's?
Oh, the Burger Fool.
Burger Fool, thank you.
Yeah, and a couple Burger Fools.
So I would like to know, Watchtower database, what is the minimum distance they will use the javelin for in wide transportation?
I would guess like 4 miles.
Okay.
I feel like 4 miles is more than Batman's willing to like run or like.
Yeah, because 4 miles is nothing for the Flash. GL can fly pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Hawkgirl can fly pretty quickly.
Literally everyone else can fly or run at super speed except for Batman.
Yeah.
He has to rely on cables.
Yeah, because even the last shot of this episode of when they're still in Dakota, or maybe this is when they go to the the power plant, you see everyone take off, and you see Batman use his grappling hook to attach onto something.
Yeah, just a building. There's a gargoyle on that one corner of
No,
Dakota City.
what I think is, I bet like in Green Lantern's bubble, he'll always attach like a hook to the very bottom of it.
Just so Batman can feel like he's actually doing something,
Yeah, or
but using his
like you
grapple.
said, he'll attach a gargoyle to his own bubble.
Yeah, he just makes a construct and looks like a gargoyle, and Batman's just constantly swinging between them.
Yes.
Yeah, I would love to see like the animated cutscene of like everyone else is like way off in the distance already fighting the battle, and Batman is like trying to get across the city, like Arkham City style, where you're just like, oh, I gotta go so far. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna like grapple up and then like coast for a little bit and then dive and flip and prance.
Yeah. It's like, I'm going for a high score. I'll be there in a minute.
He'll get there eventually. He's trying to get all the challenges unlocked.
Yeah, Alfred said he'll make me my nice dinner if I float for 65 seconds.
Alfred's just incentivizing him
Yeah.
like a puppy. Pavlov's dog. But yeah, so they come to realize like Brainiac has taken over Richie, and he's basically going to do like the normal Brainiac plan. He's built himself like a giant Brainiac skull ship, and he's going to go around and digitize the entire Earth and absorb its knowledge. Or as Static puts it, he's going to rip and burn the Earth.
Yeah.
So that was pretty great. But of course, like Brainiac is able to put control chips on all members of the Justice Leagues, and Static is immune because his just natural energy field like deactivates them, and so then he has to go and fight all the Justice League members one by one. And that's a pretty good sequence actually of him like going each individual one.
Oh yeah, it was very fun. It was probably one of my favorite Static sequences we've had so far.
Yeah, because it requires him to be clever, and he's going up against people who are much more powerful than him, or like much more cunning.
And it plays into, I think they could have even played this up a little bit. He is a fan of all these people. He knows how they fight.
Yeah.
And so I think
absolutely.
because he's met
them.
Batman before, I think it would have been funny for him to kind of fanboy similar to Richie of like, oh, Hawk Girl, like, like even like ask a question in the first part, which is answered in the second. He's like, I know you're like really good at flying, but like, how, like when you have these wide wings, how quick can you like turn around and kind of this stuff?
Yeah, how maneuverable are you?
Yeah, like, yeah, exactly. And so then he uses that against her in part 2.
Yeah, it's fun to see him like have to outsmart them a little bit, and you also kind of get the sense that, and maybe this is me just doing a headcanon sort of thing, but you kind of imagine that. So Brainiac's controlling them. And I would imagine that he's probably actively controlling them more than passively controlling them, right? Like he probably is like actively having them move around and do stuff rather than like giving them like the passive command of like, oh, go and capture this person, and then you are going to like figure out for yourself how to do it.
Right.
Because you also get the sense that all of the Justice League members who are being controlled aren't maybe like utilizing their full capabilities. Like they all know how to use their powers better than anyone, but imagine someone takes over GL, they're not going to be creative in terms of the constructs they build. Like they take over Batman, they're not necessarily going to have Batman's like intuitive thinking and problem solving. They're just going to know like, oh, he's got batarangs and grapples and stuff like that.
And space batarangs.
Do you think he has a different utility belt just for the space batarangs?
Oh, for sure. And there's definitely a utility belt on that suit.
On the outside, that's true. Now, do you think he also kept the other utility belt on the inside of the suit?
Of course he did.
That's true, because we've learned he did nothing to change his normal suit. He just put on one on top of it.
Yes. Absolutely, he gave himself double utility belts.
Yeah. But no, it's a pretty fun sequence there. Like I said, I love it because we get a moment where Green Lantern is fighting Static, so it's Phil Lamar v Phil Lamar. And he there's that great moment with the Flash too, where he does his static cling.
Yeah,
to
I
make
love
the
that
Flash
one.
stuck, and then he shocks him, and he's like, "This is my static." I haven't come up with a name for it yet, but I'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
It's
What do you
kind of
think
fun.
I should call it?
What do you think I should say? It's kind of a fun little thing. I love that he calls GL Lord of the Ring.
I wrote that down. Yep.
I love a good reference there. But yeah, I mean, like the rest of it's just kind of like a generic Justice League versus Brainiac fight.
Well, there was a line in there that was very un-Justice League, and
Which was?
it's similar to the kind of note that we had in the last Batman Static duo. And it's when they're talking about taking down Brainiac, both GL and Batman are like, oh, this is bigger than one teenager. You know, like sacrifices should be made.
Yeah.
And Static's like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not what you guys do. Like, you guys save everyone. That's the whole point of you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that does feel a little bit out of character. Like they had to write in like a bit of antagonism to sideline Static.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
but I mean, but they already have the in the next scene. They already talk about like, oh, you're too close to the situation. You can't be here. Like, I think that's enough. They can say like, we're going to do whatever we can to save Richie, but the main priority is to take out Brainiac. And it's like, Static, you can't come because you won't follow the main objective.
Yeah, exactly. You won't. You will hold back, and we can't. Too much is at stake.
Right. It's like that's fine. You don't need this other line.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. Yeah, you don't need to. Make it seem like they're willing to sacrifice Richie, which they definitely put in there just to like create some conflict. But Static, of course, gets around it because he realizes he can just use the remote control to deactivate Backpack.
Yeah, did we ever see that remote control before?
I don't think so. Like,
I don't think so either.
I think Richie went to grab it at the end of the last episode when Backpack started to act weird.
Oh, that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like that was the intro of it. I mean, otherwise it was kind of just introduced for the sake of convenience. But like, you know, it's pretty typical in these sort of like team ups that they have to find a way to put the heroes at odds against each other, and obviously like brainwashing all of the Justice League to fight Static like kind of felt like a inevitability, but I thought the way they handled it actually worked really, really well. And they gave it just enough screen time to feel like an actual obstacle for him, and you had to kind of take him out one by one without it feeling like it was written just to pad things out.
Right.
Because that's the other thing. Like these episodes, they're really like tightly scripted. I mean, they have a lot of characters in there, which is, you know, I think maybe makes it easier sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not a lot of filler. Everyone kind of gets just enough time to like have a little bit of their personality come through.
Yeah, because I'm comparing this to the season 1 finale of Young Justice, where it's all the sidekicks have to fight their brainwashed superiors.
Yeah.
And I think they both handle it well. Because with that one, it is that is the two-parter. Like that's the point of the two-parter. Is part 2 is just the fight, and so you can spend more time with all these characters and kind of go into their mechanics of fighting. But no, this was exactly as long as it needed to be, because this wasn't the point of the episode.
Yeah. They did a really good job with it, and then you know they take out Brainiac pretty quickly. Like they use remote control, then he goes in the fritz, and then they basically evacuate. And then their solution to destroying him is to just like smash a bunch of shit.
Yeah,
inside his spaceship, which,
I really
like,
enjoyed that.
That I thought was like kind of odd because the whole
like in this room we have some of the biggest and smartest people on Earth. Let's just smash it.
Let's just smash things. Well, and also this all started because they had one piece of Brainiac left, and the idea is like his programming is embedded in every single bit of hardware, and now he has this absolutely massive ship that is just getting haphazardly destroyed and like sunk at the bottom of the ocean. Like there is so much of him left now.
Right.
It sort of seemed like it didn't really make sense given everything else that was supposed to happen, everything else that had happened. But I mean, you know, you just got to write it. I mean, the only other thing they could have done is like had GL like encase it in like a bubble and like throw it into the sun or something like that, which I feel like has also been done before.
Definitely something he can do.
Definitely something he can do. But no, it's fun.
Or even just crush it. Have, you know, make a big orb and then just shrink the orb to cause the thing to shrink.
Yeah.
And then you just have this perfect sphere of Brainiac.
Yeah, and then just put it back inside the stasis field somewhere.
Yeah.
It could be done. I don't know. Yeah, it was a kind of a rushed ending, but it was a lot of fun. And then, of course, it's like the great thing at the end there when the League is all giving Static compliments. Like, yeah, you know, you're going to be a handful when you join the League, which is kind of a fun little thing. And like the nice thing, too, is like we know, given where things go, like he does eventually join the Justice League, which is pretty great. But no, these are super fun.
And then the button at the very end I really enjoyed of Martian Manhunter kind of going through Richie's brain to make sure all of Brainiac is out.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, or Virgil asks, like, oh, while you're in there, can you see where he left my Little Romeo CD? It's like, according to this, he returned it to you 2 weeks ago. It's like, oh, dang, that's right.
Damn it, that's right. Yeah, love the little Romeo shout in there. Yeah, no, these are super fun. It's definitely got me excited to watch Justice League as well. Like this reminded me, like, yeah, we're kind of through like the dark period of Zeta and maybe like the little bit of beginning of Static, and now like pretty much the rest of Static, if I recall, it's gonna be pretty damn solid. And then we get into Justice League and JLU, and it's like, oh man, we got a really good run, really good run coming up here, which is super exciting. Yeah, no, kind of a perfect couple of episodes to do for number 150.
Exactly.
So, any other thoughts on this, or should we move on to our next segment here?
I think we can move on to our next segment.
Okay, so given this is episode 150, we want to do some sort of kind of recap of where things stood at this point in the DCAU. So we decided to do our best and worst of all the shows we've covered so far. So that will be Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, the new Batman Adventures, Batman Beyond, the Zeta Project, and Static Shock to date.
Yes.
So Cameron,
some of them were easier, some of them were harder. Some of them we've brought up many times before.
Some of you will probably be able to guess what some of these are. But yes, we're going to go through real quick and name our favorite and least favorite episodes so far. So Cameron, let's kick things off. Batman Animated Series, your favorite episode.
Okay.
Wait, can I guess? Can I guess on this one?
Yeah, so I have two. Yeah, you can probably guess one. I have my favorite, and I think I have what I assume is the most underrated.
Okay,
Batman
all right,
episode.
okay. So I think your favorite is If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich?
Of course it is. It's so good. And then a very close runner-up is Almost Got Him.
Almost Got Him is fantastic.
But then I think, for me, the most underrated episode, which I realize I think would have been a more fun prompt, is Read My Lips. I really love the first ventriloquist episode.
Oh, yeah. Actually, you know what? That would be a fun segment to revisit at some point. Is the most underrated episode? That's a good criteria to go by. I was
most underrated episode and most underrated villain, I would say.
Yeah. I almost suggest we do Guilty Pleasure as well.
Okay.
Which might be a fun one to do at some point, but I didn't want the segment to go too long. But I already know what my guilty pleasure is across the entire DCAU.
What?
So it's Monkey Fun, the one with Titano
from
Superman.
Guess what's my least favorite episode of Superman?
So I kind of went through and like made a list of like potentials. Monkey Fun is absolutely on there for Superman. It's not my favorite, but I almost picked it. All right, so my favorite of Batman Animated Series was Robin's Reckoning, the two-parter.
Yep.
I guess it's kind of a cheat because it's a two-part episode, but I think for me, like, that has like really high emotional stakes. Like the animation's great on it, the music's great on it, like everything's really great about it. Also, caveat, we decided going into the segment that we would not include crossovers.
Yes, because that is not fair.
It seemed a bit of a cheat to say the best episode of Superman the Animated Series was World's Finest.
Was the one with Batman.
The one with Batman, or Nighttime, the other one with Batman, which are both great episodes, but it's not necessarily the Superman episode. So, I also considered Beware the Grey Ghost for best of.
I also was looking into that one. That was a hard one to pick.
Yeah.
What is your? I assume I know your least favorite episode, but there's kind of three to pick from for you.
Okay, what do you think is my least favorite, B-Toss?
You either wrote Terrible Trio, The Forgotten, or Sewer King.
Okay, they were all on my potential list.
Oh, Moon of the Wolf?
Moon of the Wolf!
Yeah.
I had my short list of potential bad episodes. The worst one was The Underdwellers, which of course is Sewer King, which I couldn't include because we loved to shit on it so much that it has like a special place in my heart.
Terrible Trio?
The Terrible Trio was on there, but I remember they had that one really gorgeous shot of the Batwing coming up over the crest, and I was like, okay, it had one positive thing. I had the Worry Men. I don't know if you remember that one, but it was like it was the Mad Hatter episode, Little Totems.
I don't remember that one.
It's pretty forgettable, but it's Mad Hatter, so I consider it. And also Prophecy of Doom, which was just insane. The one that was like all set up at the Griffith Observatory with like the Nostradamus like prophecy guy. He kind of had like almost Ra's al Ghul style facial hair.
Yes. Yeah, I remember reading that and just thinking that was a Ra's al Ghul episode.
Yeah, pretty bad. But no, I had to go for Moon of the Wolf, which I think is just like unforgivably stupid.
Yeah.
What about you?
I was tied between The Forgotten which is where he loses his memory.
Yes, that was on my short list as well.
And then just because I don't remember enjoying it very much, I put Lock Up as just like throw a wrench in there.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, it's kind of forgettable.
I don't remember saying many positive things about that episode.
Yeah, I feel like it was an interesting idea they didn't really know what to do with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair call on that. All right. What do you have for Superman as your favorite episode so far?
So I was stuck between 3. Mm-hmm. Most of these I'm stuck between 3 of my top.
Yeah.
Kind of breaking the rule, but not breaking the rule because it's not a crossover technically. Is the Flash episode.
Is one of your favorites?
Yeah, I love the Flash episode. I have that one. I have Mixia's Pit Licked. That one is so good.
Mixia's Pixelated was the one I chose.
Yeah.
I think that is a kind of unique episode in all the DCAU, and that it is the most cartoony, the most weird and outlandish, but it actually lands.
And it's the least actiony.
Yeah, and it shows that Superman is more than just brute strength.
Mm-hmm.
That he's actually really, really clever. Plus, Gilbert Gottfried is
so good.
The perfect casting for that.
And then my last one is the Main Man 2-parter.
Oh, the Main Man is really good.
Love me some Lobo.
Yeah. I also had on there, of course, Monkey Fun, aforementioned.
Yep, that is on the other list.
Fun and Games, which was the first episode with Toyman, which was pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
And then Legacy, so the series finale when Superman is taken over by Darkseid.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are some pretty good episodes. But yeah, I mean, wait, so what was your number one?
I'll say Mixia's Pixelated.
Mixia's Pixelated, yeah.
Yes.
I think that is an amazing episode. And for worst, do you actually have Monkey Fun as your worst?
I do have Monkey Fun as my worst.
Son of a bitch.
I hate Monkey Fun. I have that, the Promethean, and Unity are my 3 worst.
I picked Unity. I had the Promethean and Unity on there as well.
Yeah.
But how dare you?
I hated Monkey Fun.
I love that episode. We get to see a softer side of Lois that we don't normally.
Yes, but I don't care about this Lois.
But that Lois, she's great.
My first full Superman show was Smallville, so I'm always Team Lana.
I just can't with you. I can't sanction your buffoonery.
Lana's great.
I mean, Lana's fine, but let's also be honest. In Smallville, that Lois is better than that Lana.
I love that Lana.
She's so generic. There's nothing interesting about her.
But she's cute.
Yeah, but so is Erica Durance, and and that is the best Lois to date, hands down.
She is.
She is. She's our Lois. You with your
for New
bullshit.
Batman. What do you have? I assume I know this one.
Yeah, what do you think it is?
Over the Edge.
It's Over the Edge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also consider Growing Pains, Old Wounds, and Mad Love, but for me, Over the Edge is just like one of my all-time favorite episodes of anything ever.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely perfect.
My other contender was Girls' Night Out. Really, really love that one.
That was on my short list. I ended up cutting it out because I considered it a crossover episode.
That's fair. I did forget that Batgirl's in it.
Yeah. Well, because Supergirl.
Sorry, not Batgirl. Sorry, Supergirl's in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's my question for you. Because you watched all of not New Mutants, X-Men Evolution, right?
I did.
Who do you think does the better girl team up episode? When it's this Girls' Night Out, or when it's Jubilee and Shadowcat and Jean Grey?
Boom Boom, and they all like dress up in like
biker
red
girls.
Leather.
Yeah.
This does it way, way, way better.
Okay. I think they're both very, very good.
I like that episode. I love that show.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Girls' Night Out is like one of the best episodes. It's just because the dynamic there between everyone is so much fun. Like the Batgirl, Supergirl dynamic is super fun, as is the Harley and Ivy. Throwing in Livewire is like kind of a wrench in that whole situation too. Makes it really entertaining. And just I think all those characters have such great chemistry together and such great chemistry like in opposition to each other. Like it is one of the best.
I agree.
And if we hadn't established our no crossover rule, I would have picked that one probably. But
and then for our worst, I'm sure we both have the same one because there's only one bad episode of New Batman Adventures.
Yeah, Critters.
It is Critters.
It is absolutely. So sorry, Maddie, but Critters is awful.
Critters is the worst thing that came out of New Batman.
every other show, I had multiple options for both best and worst,
Same.
including Zeta. I had options for everything. The only one that had one answer was worst episode of the new Batman Adventures, and it was Critters.
It is a clear, very clear answer.
You can cut that shit out, and no one but Maddie will be sad.
Yes.
But Maddie's sadness will eclipse everyone else's joy that it's gone. Bless your heart, Maddie. We love you for it. All right. Batman Beyond. I found this one hard, actually.
I also found this one hard because they're very middle of the road, as we talked about.
It's very middle of the road.
Season 1, there's not really anything like outstanding, but not anything that like to scoff at.
No, it's like...
Except for one episode.
Oh, yes. There's some definite bad ones in there, but like... The best thing about Batman Beyond is Return of the Joker, but we weren't including movies in this.
I know.
And like, I mean, I think it's also fair to say that the best thing about Batman Animated Series is Mask of the Phantasm. But outside of that movie, there are some excellent, just truly excellent episodes.
Here's a question for you with Batman Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Do you... not really a question, more of a thought. Mm-hmm. I wish we would have gotten Return of the Joker at the end of season 2, and then those characters became main characters for season 3.
Like the
Jokers.
The Jokers? I mean, I would have loved to see them appear more, because I think those...
Because they're the best villains.
They're really well fleshed out. I mean, yeah, I would have liked to see that too. I guess it wouldn't... I don't think it would have made that much of a difference, especially because I feel like by the time we got to season 3, we weren't doing that many Joker-focused episodes.
But I think if the movie came out first and they saw like how popular these characters were, like what if we saw a different spin on The Dark Knight Returns, where you actually get to see the uprising happen in person, where you have the Jokers where you have the Jokers starting this riot culture and kind of bringing in all these crazies.
So the Batman Beyond comic series from 2010, 2011, I want to say, eventually did that story.
Okay.
Of like one Joker emerges amongst the Jokers and he actually like unifies them and leads them as a team together. And it's a really good story and it's done really well in the comics and would have made for a great episode or even couple episodes, for your love of two-parters. I think it would have been necessary. That would have been cool to see. I feel like Batman Beyond ultimately suffered from just not having great villains, great designs and interesting ideas. And, it gave arcs to those villains. I think Ink especially had like an interesting arc to go through.
Yeah. Ink I loved.
But for the most part, they just didn't.
Shriek I loved.
Yeah. The episodes are they're all kind of like, in general. So I mean, what were some of the episodes you considered for best of though with Batman Beyond?
I had the pilot. I think Rebirth is fantastic.
That's fair. It's a good shout. It's a very good shout.
I have that one. I have the season 1 finale, Ascension. Mm-hmm. The end of Blight, and what we would both consider is the drop off of the show.
Yeah, kind of.
And then I have Eyewitness, where it's Batman v Batman v Gordon.
That is a really good episode.
Yeah, on who can solve the crime correctly.
Oh, I actually forgot about that episode. It made it through my short list. So what your top one would be? Rebirth, the pilot?
I think so. I think okay. The pilot is such a great start to a show. Like it's so strong.
That's fair. No, I think that's really solid. I had for mine, Ace in the Hole was a contender when we learned the backstory.
You do love Ace in the Hole. You're a big fan of the dog stories.
I had Egg Baby on there.
Okay.
Like, it's a weird one, but that is a really fun episode. Like I can't remember the character's name, but like the gangster mom and the two sons, like they're kind of goofy.
I completely forgot about those three. That's right.
It's silly, but it's fun. I had that as a consideration. I had Dead Man's Hand as a consideration. The first episode with the Royal Flush Gang.
Yes, I
Timm.
want to just like have that as like a trilogy, as a 3-parter. Yeah. The 3 Royal Flush Gang episodes.
Yeah, I feel like they gave an arc to those characters that wasn't necessarily super satisfying in the end. But I actually picked for my favorite episode, Meltdown, the one with Mr. Freeze.
Okay, that is a great one.
To me, I think that encapsulates what made that show is at its most interesting when it highlights the differences between Bruce and Terry, both as people and also as crime fighters. The fact that Bruce is cynical all the way through, and Terry wants to believe that Mr. Freeze has actually redeemed himself, and that in the end, Bruce ends up being right, but he's not happy that he ended up being right. Like I think that's a really interesting dynamic there. I think that's my favorite.
Yeah.
For worst episodes.
Yeah. What do you have?
I'm guessing you put Rats.
I forgot about Rats.
How did you forget about Rats?
I put our favorite boy, Charlie Big Dick Charlie.
Charlie Big Dick Charlie.
And Big Time in Betrayal.
Our
favorite boy to mock.
I considered those mostly because I just wanted to bring up Charlie Big Dick Charlie again. I actually ended up doing Earth Mover, which was the one about like the guy who was like betrayed by his friend and like left at an industrial site and got infected with like this weird toxic cosmic goo, and then he was able to control the Earth. So then he started like stalking his daughter, who was then adopted by the friend who betrayed him.
I have no memory of this episode
the mud monsters are always going around attacking. Like the episode ends in like some underground cavern because the mud monsters have brought the daughter down to like the remains of the dad who has like some sense of consciousness left. The only good thing about that episode is it had like the bat submarine, which then never appears again. But to me, that episode was just like really dumb. And as much as like Rats is a bad episode, I also like the fact that it actually gave Dana a focus episode where she got to have like some agency, and it also points out
that episode. That's right.
Yeah, and it also points out that Terry is a terrible boyfriend.
Yes, which we learned many times throughout the rest of the show.
Yeah, so I went for Earth Mover, but you went for was it Betrayal?
Big Time.
Big Time. Big Time.
Yeah, Charlie Big Dick Charlie. I also, because I just don't remember liking the villain. I threw in Touch of Karare.
Oh, I kind of like that one though. There's some good action in that.
Big Time is my worst.
Big Time. Those are fair. Okay. On to another very challenging episode to pick. Zeta.
I think through most of Beyond and Zeta, I was just in this like haze.
They were like,
I don't remember a lot of these.
They were. It was a rough time.
And this was a year ago.
Fuck, it was a year ago, wasn't it? What were your contenders for best episodes of Zeta?
The Next Gen with IU7.
Oh,
when you have the other robot, because I think we wrote a better episode, and I think IU7 has the ability to be a better villain.
So you picked your favorite episode based on the fact that you came up with a better version of it than actually existed.
Exactly.
For vanity alone, I love that.
Yeah, IU7 is the like, it's one of those stories that I love, where it's you have a genetic experiment that has a new or better version made of itself.
Experiment 627.
I was gonna say 627 Leroy, 628 as well, and 629. XJ9. I don't think there's ever an XJ10, if I remember correctly.
Oh, from My Life as a Teenage Robot?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Jenny. But there are like robots that claim to be like, you know, the best robots in the galaxy that she constantly has to go up against.
So actually, when you get down to it, the real reason you chose this episode is that it highlights one of your favorite all-time cartoon tropes that have been done better other places. And so that's why you picked as your favorite, because you're not actually thinking about the episode. You're thinking about all the other episodes that you love instead.
Yep.
And there's nothing more Cameron than that. So I approve.
And then what do you have?
I went for Absolute Zero, which was the
season 2 pilot.
Season 2 premiere, which also kind of served as a pseudo like reboot-esque kind of pilot.
That was a good episode, yeah.
To me, that one was good because it was actually pretty good. There wasn't that many problems. It focused on Zeta's quest to get answers from Dr. Selig and the idea that he will still choose to do the right thing instead of getting what he actually wants. And so he has to sacrifice like talking to Selig in order to save his life. That one was the kind of the only one that like actually was pretty good. Otherwise, I considered the Hologram Man, which was the finale, but ultimately I went for Absolute Zero. And then even more challenging, Cameron, pick your least favorite Zeta episode. What is the crowning
Oh
of the
God.
shit pile? The worst of them all.
So there were two, and I think I've seen a pretty common theme of what we consider the worst episodes. I have Eye of the Storm.
I also picked Eye of the Storm.
Yes, and I think it's anytime we have our character fighting a natural disaster.
Natural disasters are always boring. No one cares.
Because that's pretty consistent. Because your Beyond is kind of a natural disaster-esque.
The Earth Mover, yeah.
Yeah. Critters is just a disaster.
Yeah. Unity, it's like
naturally.
this random like alien that no one really cares about. Yeah, it's like, I think it's usually a one-off antagonistic force, whether it's a real shit villain or if it's like a natural disaster.
Yeah, and even kind of giving a sneak preview of my static choice.
Oh, I think we probably have the same static choice too, I bet.
But yeah, I have the Storm, and then my second choice is Crime Waves, which is the beach episode where they meet the rich kid who's very mean to robots.
Yep. Yeah, that was a pretty bad one. I had Kid Genius.
You hated him.
Which is the one where they all turn into babies. Like this gives you an idea of how bad Zeta Project is, that in an episode about a bunch of adults temporarily turning into children, there was a worse episode.
Yes.
I also considered The River Rising, which was the episode about the no-techs or whatever they were. The Amish ones. But I think I gave that one a pass because that idea is so stupid that I kind of love it.
Yeah.
I kind of love it just for how fucking asinine it is. But yeah, I think Eye of the Storm, appropriate shout. The brothers doing storm tornado chasing, awful. Absolutely awful. All right, so for Static here.
This one was hard because there are some great episodes of Static we've seen so far.
I agree.
Except one stands above the rest, standing at about 7'1", some would say.
I knew it had to be. It had to be Static Shack.
It is. I want to put Static. I can't put Static Shack because
really you can't. Well, because it's your favorite episode. You can pick whatever you want.
Because we rewatched it, and it is so much worse than I remember that episode being.
Yes, this is true. So what did you actually pick?
I was stuck between. I think Static in Africa might be my favorite episode.
That's what I picked, was Static in Africa.
My other two choices are Bad Stretch. That's the one where Rubber Bandman first becomes a hero, and he has to fight Ebon, and we learn that they're brothers, and they never bring it up again.
Never again.
And then Frozen Out is just such a good episode.
Frozen Out is really good. Yeah, I was kind of looking through some of their like socially conscious episodes. Like I very seriously considered Sons of the Father.
Yeah.
I think ultimately why I went with Static in Africa is it has a little bit of that. It has something deeper to say, but it is also in its own right a really fun, entertaining episode.
Yes.
And I think sometimes those other like socially conscious episodes, I think Jimmy's a very good example. They sacrifice the entertainment for the message, and I don't fault them for doing that. I think that's actually really smart and a great choice on their part. But if you want like a really good, well-rounded episode, I'd say Static in Africa.
I agree. And then what is your worst? Because I have two. Okay.
The amoeba episode, Grounded, with the Bang Baby amoebas.
Because my first thought was Grounded, but then I remembered a recent episode we watched, Duped.
Oh, did I
AJ McClain Backstreet Boy?
Oh, I love that episode.
I'm obviously a very hardcore Backstreet Boys fan, but this episode was so bad.
But it's bad. What makes it bad is what also makes me love it, which is that it's bad because it's the most 2000s episode of the entire series.
Yeah,
and I love that this show more than anything else in the DCAU falls victim to that by actually being like pop culture relevant, and this one was trying so hard to be pop culture relevant, while at the same time still being dated, even when it aired.
So yeah, Grounded I think is the right answer here. I do love Grounded. Like Grounded I think is so funny and how insane it is, and the fact that it's so early. Like I always thought Grounded was like mid-season 2.
Yes.
And the fact that it's episode 3.
Was it really episode 3? Was it that early on?
I think it's episode 3 or 4.
No, it's 4. The breed,
Yeah,
is number 3. But yeah, it is really early on. They were already struggling to find some topics there.
yeah,
No, I mean these are pretty good lists. Not surprising, I think, for either of us most of the way through.
natural disasters aren't good
Natural disasters
storylines for
aren't our thing.
superheroes.
I mean, and look, I'd say like obviously of all of these shows, Zeta is the worst. We had to like struggle to find good episodes to pull from it.
Except I will. There's one show that did a natural disaster very well, and I think it was so funny. And it's One Punch Man.
Okay.
There's an episode where a meteor is crashing down to Earth, and they bring in all of the. It's the first time we meet like the S tier heroes, like the highest level heroes, and they all go at it their own way to trying to stop this asteroid from crashing into the Earth. And none of them can do it, and so it's like this very sad ending, or like we're all like I'm gonna go talk to my family. I'm gonna spend the last minutes I can with them, and then you have the main character doesn't show up until the last minute,
and he
jumps and punches and breaks the asteroid, but he doesn't destroy it. It just causes a bunch of smaller asteroids to come and crash. And so now he's the villain of the episode. Of like, how could you you destroyed the city? Like you're a monster.
That is pretty great.
Yeah.
I will give that episode a pass for doing something smart with natural disasters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, looking back on this, I would say that the show that has the most great episodes and the least bad ones would probably be New Batman Adventures.
Oh, it's absolutely New Batman. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd say that for me, the most disappointing one to revisit was Batman Beyond, because I always thought it was much better than it actually ended up being.
Yeah.
In the end, quite sadly. But no, this was fun going back and like looking at some of the best and worst. I would really love to hear from people like their top episode from some of these shows. Like, what's your favorite episode? It doesn't have to be the thing.
Favorite episode, and when was the last time you watched it?
Yeah, because I think that's also the interesting thing. It's like sometimes you revisit them and they don't hold up quite the way you wanted to.
Static Shack.
Static Shack, for example. But we have one last here at our best and worst, and it's just best. And this was Cameron's suggestion. I absolutely loved it. Which was obviously, as we've been going through, occasionally we go on these random tangents and come up with these insane characters that we feel like must exist in the DCAU to fill a certain kind of void. You had the list here. So it's like, the idea that Alfred hires all the villains so that Bruce has something to do.
Yes, our conspiracy theory that Alfred is the true mastermind behind all of Gotham's villainy.
Yes, as well as our as of yet unnamed villain real estate agent, our villain costume designer.
Yes, the real estate agent that we've now seen in Harley Quinn, like that is a character now.
That's true. That is an actual character now. Yeah,
the Lair real estate agent.
The idea that there is a calendar, like a Google calendar, shared amongst all the villains, so they can decide who goes where and what crimes they do.
Yes, they never overlap.
Yeah, and then of course our original characters, the Filibuster and Sergeant Soylent, figuring out which is our favorite of these random asinine things you've created. Cameron, what was yours?
I think I'm going to go with Filibuster, because that was like the first time we created a hero or a villain on the spot.
That
was completely original. Filibuster. Yeah.
I think it's like, I actually think that is legitimately a great character. His power set of the longer he talks, the more powerful he gets is hilarious, practical, and perfect for his name.
Yes. Like all around, I think that is the best thing we've made so far.
It's better than anything else we've done in this podcast. If the only good thing that comes out of this podcast is eventually that maybe you and I create a comic, even if it's a short one, about the Filibuster.
And I do love Sergeant Soylent. I think that is another, because it's a parody of our favorite parody hero or villain.
Yeah, it's the condiment king of the Batman Beyond era.
Yes.
Oh God. But yeah, if you guys want to, if you're not sure exactly what we're referring to, if you go to our Instagram page under stories, the artwork, the amazing artwork Cameron did for both the Filibuster and Sergeant Soylent are up there.
And, I still want to make more villains. I want to continue making up dumb villains.
Yeah. We got to come up with names for these other ones.
Yeah.
We'll make that a side project. Keep that going.
Well, cause I have my very dumb ones that I've made up on my own. Mm-hmm. The corrugated contender, who is an amateur boxer who was cut by a radioactive cardboard box. So now he can fold himself like cardboard, but he can never get wet. Did I bring up the corrugated contender to you before?
You must have, and sadly somewhere got lost in my brain because that is fucking brilliant.
There's Patty Cake, who is an exiled Russian slap champion who was accused of cheating, and so now she's taken on the life of an anti-hero / villain trying to expunge the cheaters from the slapping competition.
In my mind, she looks like Dolph Lundgren's girlfriend from Rocky IV.
I mean, I sketched her out. It's pretty much just Dolph Lundgren in like I mixed up the cultures, but like the German wig, like the Dutch wig, where it's the two pigtails.
Oh,
it's like,
yeah, that's like more Netherlands.
Yeah, where it's combed down the middle, the two braids. She had metal implanted in her cheeks because that's where she would get slapped.
Yeah.
And then she had I'm still trying to figure out the rest of her backstory, but I had it where she cut off her hand so it can now be detachable, and it's like attached with a chain, so she can slap people at a distance.
Please keep making more of this artwork. I want to see all of this.
Yes, I will.
All right, but yeah, like I said, would love to hear your guys' favorite episodes, and to Cameron's point, when you last saw them too. Have you revisited them recently? And then sort of as a pseudo notes from friends, we don't really have actually any real notes from friends. So kind of in lieu of that, given that it is our 150th episode, we actually just want to do like a series of shout outs. Like, we would just do this for the fun of it. It's just like an excuse for Cameron and I to hang out every week and like talk about stuff we want to talk about. But one of the surprising and best things about this has been like the awesome people we've met doing this, either who have like been, contributed on episodes or come on as guests, or have been collaborators, or just listen and write in and, share lovely thoughts and questions and comments sometimes. And so bear with me here. It's me a long list. And if I have forgotten anyone, you can message me directly and call me an asshole, and I will read it out verbatim on the next episode. But obviously, like a huge shout out to James and Maddie and Ted over at the Watchtower Database. It was like the kind of the first internet friends I call we made doing this sort of stuff, and we got to do that amazing script read with them recently, and they're just sweet guys and always chiming in with answers to questions we don't know to do with because we're dumb, and they actually know what they're talking about.
And we're not good at this.
We're not good at this. Another shout out to Cal and Liam at the DCAU Review, who do this exact same thing, but way better than we do. Of course, to Benjamin David at Above and Batman Beyond and Comic Book International Network. To some of the people who we've had on as guests and collaborators. So Amanda, Frank, Chris, and Trevor, Jonathan James, CJ, and TC from Bruh Meets World. Vasilius, Johnny Briantes, my brother Wes, my friend Alec, Sam Gash, who's been on a couple times, Kira Giordano, Lauren Rich, and Angela Cashman, who did that amazing Comic-Con episode with us a few years ago.
Yes.
And then, of course, our number one boy, Electric Factory himself, Shane Tully, who's our most frequent guest.
Yes. We couldn't have done this without you, Shane.
Nope. And then just other people who I know listen all the time and have written in at some point with just a lovely comment. And so, of course, Ashley Clark, who's always writing in, the aforementioned Sam Gash, our friend Jason O'Phil, my friend Richard Gatson, Bryce Lee, Brian Day, Ranky Customs, Cameron Miller, the one person we've met in person.
Yes, our one fan.
Yes, which to this day was still one of the coolest things about doing this, was meeting you at LA Comic-Con, Cameron. Kiana, Cameron's mom, Cindy. Hi, Cindy.
Thanks, Mom.
Chelsea Wingo, Gordon Wills, and Paul Hill, both of whom have amazing artwork on Instagram. Go check them out. And then recently, a new fan who wrote to us was the Quarantine Dream on Twitter, who listened to our Scoob episode because he was going to be watching it with his nieces. And he also has a podcast called the King of Sports podcast. So go check that out. And I'm sure I have forgotten someone at some point. So like I said, if I did forget you, my apologies. And please let me know, and I will make amends on the next episode. But just a huge thank you to everyone I just listed. You guys have actually made this like even more fun than it is otherwise. So much appreciated.
Yes.
All right. And with all that mushy shit out of the way, final segment here, Cameron, bat plugs. What have you been doing to keep yourself busy during quarantine?
I finally started watching the new DuckTales.
How is it?
Unbelievable.
I've heard it's great.
I am shocked that people aren't like forcing this down other people's throats. Mm-hmm. This show is so like, we talk about like a good compact episode. Mm-hmm. Like this show does such a good job balancing all their characters. Cause I mean, there are a couple episodes where you just follow like Scrooge, and it's kind of like Scrooge and blank, or it's the triplets, or it's Webby and her grandma, Agent 22. But when it's like a full episode and you have everyone in it, it's so well done. And I sit and watch these 22-minute episodes, and I'm like, this is an hour. Like, this is an hour of content that I just watched, that they were able to condense into a great 22-minute episode. I just finished season 1. It's only 2 seasons so far.
It's up on Disney Plus, right?
It's on Disney Plus, and just like, wow, I am so upset that I've been sleeping on this show for so long.
And it's a stacked voice cast.
Yeah, too. It's David Tennant is Scrooge.
Great, David
and he
Tennant.
does amazing. They actually kind of like separated the triplets, so you can tell Huey, Dewey, and Louie are all voiced by Ben.
It's Ben Schwartz.
Ben Schwartz, thank you. Abed from Community.
Danny Pudi.
Yes.
And
Bobby Moynihan.
Bobby Moynihan, that's right. Oh, great.
Yeah, and you hear all of them. Like, you can tell who is who, which is great.
Yeah.
Webby is there's the comedy singing duo.
I have no idea.
They're a joke on Italian Oats.
Kate McCucci.
Yes, thank you. I'm like, it's the high pitched voice.
Right?
It's
Kate
not.
McCucci?
Yeah, it's Kate McCucci. Yeah, she's Webby. Lin-Manuel Miranda is in it as Gizmo Duck.
That's great. That's amazing.
Beck Bennett from SNL is Launchpad McQuack.
Such a great name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch that because I finally finished Clone Wars. I've been watching Rebels, and I feel like once I'm done with Rebels, I might need to do DuckTales because
it's one where you don't like, you can have it on in the background, but like you want to watch it.
Okay, like it just keeps bringing you back again and again.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's on my list. I got to do it at some point. It's amazing.
Yes. So what is on your list? What are you watching, reading, listening?
I just finished a book. So I love to say that I like smart. Yes, absolutely. Total nerd. I love smart movies, but dumb books. This is not to say it's a dumb book, but I like sometimes books that are just like a quick, easy read. And I found a great article on IO9 that was recapping the best of the new Star Wars Expanding Universe stuff. So all the new canon stuff that's come out. I'll put the link in the show notes. You guys can check it out for yourselves. But one of the books I just read was Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray. So it focuses on a mission with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan from a few years before the Phantom Menace. So Obi-Wan's like 17 years old or something like that. And it's good. It's really fun. Claudia Gray is a great writer. She's done a lot of the new Star Wars stuff, including Lost Stars, which is actually a young adult book in the Star Wars universe that I read like last year. It's actually really, really good. But most of the stuff that was on this list was stuff by her, and I can see why. She's really fantastic. She's really good at just weaving a great, fun, entertaining story. And I mean, if you kind of wish you had gotten more time with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan than you got in Episode 1, it's well worth a read. It's a lot of fun. So that's what I've been keeping busy with. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. I just finished it yesterday, so now I'm just figuring out what comes next. So
I want to start. I'm going to start the Thrawn trilogy when I get my next Audible credit.
Oh, the original Thrawn trilogy?
Yeah.
They're good. I read those last year. I can definitely see why they wouldn't necessarily have made great movies, though. So I'm very curious to hear what you think when you read them. But yeah, they're really good. And then Timothy Zahn, who wrote that, has now done a new Thrawn trilogy. I've read one of them.
Okay.
I have the second one. But yeah, he's a great writer, and Thrawn's a great character. Have you watched Rebels?
I've not watched Rebels.
I'm rewatching it now, like selectively, like watching like the good episodes. It's really good. It actually holds up really well.
I still need to finish Clone Wars. I'm 2 seasons in. I finished season 2.
Okay, yeah. I'd say finish Clone Wars, and then if you want, I can send you the list I'm working off of, the critical list in terms of Rebels episodes. So you can kind of skip the random filler ones.
Okay.
Which is nice to do sometimes. But yeah, I think
we can call it.
That does it for us. Yeah, I think we can call it. Thank you everyone for listening and sticking with us for these last 150/193 episodes.
We're almost at 200.
I know.
Another celebration.
In hindsight, it was maybe dumb of us to only have the official episodes be numbered because we're actually much further along on milestones than we should be at this point. But no, this is.
I mean, for 200, we can talk about our favorite side episodes.
That's true. We could. We could do that. Our favorite bonus episodes. We
do
can
more Sporkle quizzes.
so many Sporkle quizzes. I thought about doing a Sporkle quiz this time, but this kept us busy enough as it is.
Yeah.
But no, thank you for listening. Like, you guys have actually made this like even more fun and enjoyable. So much appreciated. Thank you for Cameron for sticking with me on this.
Hey, thank you for me too. I'm impressed that I'm able to continue to do this week by week.
Yeah.
It is. I'm very proud of myself.
I mean, Cameron, you are the glue that keeps this podcast together. I mean, I may record and edit and post everything for every single episode, but without you,
without me, it would be not the same. That's for sure.
Not the same. No, this has been super fun. But yeah, we'll be back next week talking some more Static Shock. We'll be doing The Usual Suspect and Showtime. Don't know what those are about. Can't wait to find out.
I think I remember Showtime. I'm excited.
Maybe it'll be the return of Charlie Big Dick Charlie.
Dreams.
But until then, you can find us at Timm Talk Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Gmail. And you can find me at Lordifer on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, if you want to see my art, which I should have a new video out very soon.
That's right. Soon. Yes, you should.
You can find that at Cameron.Dexter. And if you want to see my face, you can find that at CamDexter_adventures.
Boom, boom, boom. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. We'll be back next week.
Yes.
Bye.
Superhero Static Shock.
Whoop, whoop.
Superhero Static Shock.